Hello, hello. I am live. Are you surprised? And I'm by myself and I don't have a beautiful footer below me. Morgan, we need to work on that, but I am here for you. God has me fired up with something this morning and I had to get on here. I had to share. I'm like, I could go live on Facebook. I could go live on Instagram stories, but this has to be safe harness. This has to be deposited immediately because it is for now. And I wanted to just share an example. And this morning I was on Clubhouse and there was just 1,000 deposits. There were some incredible speakers. There always is. If you've never joined Clubhouse, join. If you've never been with the Breakfast for Champions and had breakfast with us, holy moly, it is so, so good. And it's amazing to say us, and they really provide a seat at the table for everyone. And so I'm really grateful to be in that space and to just continue to be learning and listening and serving and sharing. And so tonight or today or right now, whenever you're listening to this, I want to know, I want to learn, I want to dive into the perspective of what lens, what window specifically you are looking at your life. I think so often we get stuck. We get into mindsets that are negative. We get into comfort. We get into disassociation to where we should be going, where we are promised to go, and where we're actually going. And what I mean by this disassociation is we are like stuck in a traffic pattern that just has us like on a constant detour away from our purpose, away from our passion, away from everything that God says is true, is intended for your life. And yet we're okay with it. And we get to a place of frustration that is so comfortable that we've said this so many times that it's not going to happen for me, that it's not my time, that now I'm too old. My season has passed. I'm too young and there's no way that someone would trust me with that information that I have, that knowledge that I've curated. But I am here to tell you, friends, that is not true. That it is time for you to rise and the time is now. Why wait? What are you waiting for? In fact, and you might have heard me say before that you are blocking somebody else's blessing because you are not activated in the driver's seat. And I say driver's seat, but in fact, you're not even supposed to be there. Jesus, take the wheel. Carrie Underwood, woo, she did so good on that song. And it always comes back to me because I'm a control freak. And I imagine if you have any desire for your life to be of abundance, to experience wealth through the lens of the Fathers, to have all of the fruits of the Spirit, to become more like Jesus, you are trying to control it a little bit too. But we know that victory comes in submission, and yet we still try to take the wheel from the driver, not the Uber driver, not the stranger. And maybe I shouldn't say it that way, because maybe you are a stranger to Jesus. Maybe you don't intimately know him. Maybe you're not in a full relationship with him yet, and that's something that you're eager to do. Guess what? You're stuck in a car together. And the road is endless. It's a lifetime that you have with him. And I say lifetime. Time to him is a minute you could get to know him. That's what he did for me. When he took my shame and my guilt and the burdens that I had been carrying for so long, some unknowingly, masks that were literally like plastered, like the mask, like the green mask from Jim Carrey, right? Where like you can't get it off because it has become who you are. That happened to me. And that's why I'm so passionate about the always becoming component of our life. Because we are if we allow ourselves to be, instead of trying to control it. And so in that instant, he took me from downcast to lifting my chin into his beautiful face. And I have this amazing ring light in front of me. So the light is just like gazing at me, but it was so much more vibrant than that. It was actually more colorful than that. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love color. You know that I love imagery. And his brightness, the vast understanding of light, became known to me. And all the shame, all the guilt, I won't say that it necessarily immediately went away. It was a huge journey. It took years, it's still taking years, hence always becoming, to get rid of it, to understand it, to unpack it, to uproot it. But in that moment, I got to know who my driver was. Do you ever ask questions to your Uber driver? Do you ever like get to know them, or are you just so fast paced that you're ready to get to the next destination, that you're anticipating because you paid him that this is where you're supposed to go. What if he took a detour in and of itself? What if he was like, sorry, I gotta jump to the gas station real quick, or I've got to go pick up something for my wife. I'll be back. We'll get back to your mission in a minute. That's what you're doing to God all the time. You're literally putting him in the back seat and you're saying, I've got this. I'm good. 2 seconds. Okay. 1 second. I'm not ready to go where you want to go right now. Is that a funny way to look at this? I didn't even plan for this as I got on here. I have an analogy and it's about the car and it's about where your position is in the car. But I never thought about the fact that I used to put him in the back seat. Actually, he was probably more in the trunk. Yeah, no, I probably kicked him out and was like, see ya. That's the kind of control freak I am, y'all. My life was so fast-paced. I was doing everything in my own might, in my own will, in my own success pattern, in my own desire for achievement, perfectionism, all of those things, coping mechanisms, because I was doing something I was never intended to do. You are driving. Yes, you have a driver's license, but that doesn't mean that that's the intention for your life. We try to control. There's a jet, sound of freedom, going over right now. Stand by. This just happened on an interview, by the way. And I was like, I am so sorry. But it was kind of funny because I was talking about it. She's like, is it your jet? I'm like, that'd be cool. Let's manifest that. All right, here we go. Where is Jesus's position? And he's on the tarmac. Whole right? Like this. Generally speaking, are your parents or your caretakers, whoever that is for you, and you're watching them, you're emulating them, you're trying to be and learn to drive, right? And me and my little one, my 6-year-old, we'll often, like, I'll have the wheel, obviously, and she's in the back seat because that's where she's supposed to be in her car seat. And she'll play like she's driving. And I remember doing that when I was little and thinking that this is how you drive all the time, because my parents drove Suburban and like it jiggled. And so I had a loose steering wheel, but you don't really drive like that. You drive steady. But anyway, she'll get in the back seat and she'll turn and I'll turn with her, and she'll turn and I'll turn with her. We only do this in neighborhoods or in parking lots where it's safe, obviously, but she giggles. She thinks it's so funny. She wants to speed up and go back, and it's so much fun. But she's mirroring me, not just as a silly example from a car, but in everything that I do. When I put on lipstick, she wants it. When I put on my pajamas, she wants to put on hers. I don't wear pants when I go to bed. Yep, I wear underwear. That's probably TMI, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And so her cute little like 2-piece pajamas that everyone has, she has 1,000 sets of them. Nope, not anymore. She found that it's more comfortable to just be in your undies, and so that's what she wears. They mirror us every single moment. And as Jesus intends, he wants us to mirror, but he wants us to mirror him, because what we do based on earthly example is that we follow the flesh. Flesh follows flesh. And yet I'm mirroring a driver who's gotten in an accident, a driver who has lost their license, a driver who doesn't have a license at all. They don't know how to drive. They're not perfect at it. We're not perfect at anything. And nobody taught them how to be parents other than their parents and their parents and their parents. But out of generational bondage, they still existed. And so they taught me how to drive the best that they could. And I learned to drive stick shift. I don't know about you. Drop it in the comments. What was your first vehicle? I want to hear. I want to know. I want to visualize you inside of it. What was your first vehicle? What did you learn to drive a car in? And maybe what you learned to drive was different than your first vehicle. But I think it's important and I think it's really cool. So I learned to drive manually. It wasn't so easy, right? All my friends got the automatic and I'm over here like FOMO and comparison. I did later find a bit of pride in it because I was like, I can do this and you can't. Why didn't you learn? This is like, so I always said I was going to teach my kids how to drive a manual, and now they drive or they ride in a Tesla. So who knows what kind of mirroring and emulation that they're doing, right? But it's so important for us to understand that Where did our driving skills get taught from? Were they licensed in it? And maybe you are. And I'm by no means a perfect parent. I'm doing things actually really different than how I was raised. So I surely don't have a manual for it, but I rely fully on somebody else being in the driver's seat. And that isn't me most days, because I can't teach them everything. And when I do, I probably won't always get it right. So I really, truly value releasing control, surrender, and allowing God to take the driver's seat for my own children. All right, let's get back into the space. You're in the car with Jesus. Do you understand this? You are emulating and mirroring at a young age, and then you get to that special age of 16, sweet 16, right? Or 15 if you start to learn at that age, and you get your own license, and you feel like king or queen of the world, right? You want to take on everything around you. You want to go to all the places. You're like, peace out, mom. My curfew's 2 hours later, right? And then after high school, you want to get as far away as you possibly can. I didn't, and yet I did at the same time. I wanted freedom for sure, but I was such a home, like mama's girl at the time. But what's important for us to know is that we just go. We don't think twice. We're moving already at the age of 18 at a supersonic speed that was given to us. That was not a speedometer or a road sign made by God. It was a man-made speedometer and a man-made road sign. And it starts us further into a detour. Because the detour actually starts in the mirroring. But at the time, you're so young, you don't really recognize that. Now you feel like you're in control. The control and the opportunity is given to you, right? And the opportunities are endless. I tell my children that now, like they can dream up whatever they want to be. But at the same time, God already has a plan for them in that dream. So dream with Jesus, right? I was definitely never taught that. And I don't even know that they can understand that. But when they get the keys to their car, I pray that he's at least in the car and not on the tarmac or on the side of the road like I did. I was out. I was ready to adventure, and I'm still an adventurer, but in a new anointing, right? And so I get to college, I do all the wrong things. I actually started, this is so funny, I actually started alongside a team, a drunk driving cab service. Talk about Uber. We always say that we actually originated the Uber. Uber just took it and ran with it because it was actually pre-Uber. And we would drive drunk kids home. We had like detectors on all the cars. We had navigators and drivers for the safety feature. And we would go and people would call our service and we would go and pick them up at all the places. And we ran, I think, from like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. till 2 or 3 in the morning. Every weekend night. It was called Safe Rides. It was amazing. It's still operating today. So if you went to JMU, go Duke Dogs. You might know who they are. But I was a part of that founding organization and the nonprofit development. And at that time, we really tried to control the route, right? And yet God was safe harboring me in a place rather than at the party, in a position above the alcohol before I knew what that meant in my life for now, right now, a position above the alcohol. The roadmap that the world gave us includes that. And his roadmap, his device, his car, his mileage, his speedometer, his gas tank, it looks so drastically different. I hope this is speaking to you right now. If you're here in the comments, I would love to know what's being deposited in your spirit right now. What are you feeling convicted of? I asked what your car is. Where is Jesus in your car? So we're at a young age, we're mirroring. We then get our license and we go buck wild. I don't know about you, but that's my story. What happened when you got your license? I'm curious. And the variation of that. I know a lot of friends probably are the same. And then we grow, right? And then we start to mature and we're in our young adult years and we're still driving because we know it all. We're in control of our love life and who we're going to marry and who we invite into the navigation seat. And I don't know about you, but again, I'm just telling on myself basically. So if you want to know some of my testimony, you're learning about it right now. I tried to wear the pants, right? I tried to not allow, not honor, not respect, not give authority in my home or in my relationship to my husband. And that's a hard conversation to have, right? That's a hard conversation that I had to have with myself, and even still for years in therapy. Yes, I am not afraid to say that I went to therapy. And so I never let my husband in the driver's seat until recently. And I'm sure even now he's like, can you remember where I'm positioned? And I don't mean that in a sexist or non-feminist way, because women empowerment, you know how I feel about that. But I also think that it's so important for us to honor them in the driver's seat, right? And know too that there might be seasons where you're driving and that's okay. But in my maturity, I was still not inviting God in the car. And in that moment where I told you he took that shame and that guilt, and it was instant that he showed up, there was a recognition that somebody else was in the car, that it's actually not my car at all. And through prayer and petition and thanksgiving, I was able to understand bit by bit by bit that his position was shifting, that he went from outside of the car waving bye to being in the trunk because I was like, I guess you can come in. Don't really want you here, but come on in. Showing up, and slowly but surely, out of my submission, out of my releasing the steering wheel, literally pry me away, Jesus. Don't let me be the hindrance of where you want me to go. Everyone's talking about calling. Everyone's talking about purpose. Nobody's talking about surrender. Nobody's talking about submission. So here's why I came on. None of that, which is awesome. God, you're so good. His deposits are so plentiful. All of the seasons where he wasn't there, where I didn't let him in, where I tried to take control, he has renewed. He has let that detour be a part of the placement and the process and the place that he's bit by bit taking me to. His timing is different than what I intended. His pit stops are different than I intend. And yet I constantly have to remind myself, Tamra, your job is to mirror. Your job is to watch how he does it and emulate him. I need to get one of those wristbands that we used to have. And I think they were back in the 90s, maybe 80s. What would Jesus do? Are you watching him that closely? Are you watching in the back seat every move that he makes? Are you emulating that? Are you trying to upgrade? Are you trying to upgrade your car? All right. I asked you what car you started with. What car are you currently driving? Is it nicer than that one? Is it older than that one? Are there some things that are going wrong with it? I have paint chipping on mine. It's much older than it looks on the outside. What it is by the actual year. The mileage is really crazy. I'm supposed to go to Florida this weekend and I'm not driving, just in case. So it's the recognition that our cars are vehicles, the exterior that used to matter so much to me when I got the keys. I had a brand new Volkswagen Jetta when I was 16. Yes, I was spoiled. Yes, it was manual. And now, same color, a little bit bigger to fit more of my luggage and my people, a lot older, but I'm a lot more present. And instead of driving, I'm in the back seat. Where are you in your car? Where are you in your vehicle? And the biggest thing that I want you to know, and the biggest reason that you're likely taking the driver wheel every single time, is your perspective, is your lens. Are you looking at the rear view mirror as the windshield? Are you turned around? Are you gazing backwards? Are you stuck in the fact that your past was better than your present? That your past was worse than your present and has you stuck in your present? Is your past your identity? Is that new Volkswagen Jetta, that hint of perfectionism, that mask that I was wearing, those coping mechanisms, is that my identity? Or am I okay with the thing not being that shiny? Am I okay with the extra mileage? Because it shows wear and it shows joy and it shows stewarding my finances well. It shows priority. Isn't it interesting that we can take one analogy, one song, many, many Bible verses, and many, many painful memories? How much more clarity is it in the future than it is in the past? And yet the past has us trapped. The rearview mirror is like, we're wearing drunk goggles over here. Are those from Safe Rides too? We're wearing the drunk goggles on our past. And we're honing in so tightly. We're staying fixated in all the shame, all the guilt, all the wrong turns. And I'm telling you right now to switch to the windshield and you still have on your drunk goggles. So it's a little blurry and it's a little crazy and it's actually really scary to drive with drunk goggles on because you have no idea exactly where you're going, where the yellow lines and the white lines and the road signs and all that are. And I can't promise you that for the rest of your life, you're going to be able to take them off. You are imperfect, friend. Your eyes cannot see what he can see. Your eyes are not intended or calibrated to go that far, to look past the horizon. That's his job. That's his job. And yet we still think because we have the keys, because we turn things on and shut things down at a given time frame per day, per week, per hour, per year, per season, per responsibility, that we're in control. What if you took your schedule today and you gave it to him and you said, God, take me where you want me to go? Is it where you're at right now? Is it in the job you're currently existing in? Is it in the mundane or the lens or the rear view mirror? Maybe. Probably not. I was supposed to be at the office right now. I'm actually supposed to be packing because I changed my plan around because I thought I have no added hour to pack for my kids and I to go out of town this weekend. So I decided to stay home this morning. I was going to pack right now. Literally, I had a time block of 30 minutes to pack, but I knew that this took priority. I let him take the wheel. I knew that I had something firing inside of me and I could have kept it to myself. But I'm looking at these messages right now that I've learned the hard way, and it's so much easier and safer letting Jesus take the wheel. Amen. That's true. That I'm driving alone. And that you need to stop and let Jesus in. I see you. I've been there. And it is so amazing when you let him drive, friend. There's absolutely nothing better. There's nothing more relaxing. You know, he calls us to be still. And I really believe that the stillness doesn't exist in the actual matter at rest. I think it's our spirit. I think it's our ultimate knowing. I think it's his presence that causes the pause. And yet he is steadfast in his speed. He is steadfast in his ability. He is steadfast in his sight. He fixates on you. He fixates on you. And he doesn't lose vision of his purpose. And your purpose is within his purpose. You exist because he exists. Your car is shiny and new. It's convertible. It's a limo. It's whatever you want it to be, as long as he's in control. And he'll gift you. He'll upgrade you, in fact, beyond your wildest dreams if you allow him to. You guys, there was a jet flying over. I was joking about the manifestation. And as I just said that, I'm like, what? Come on, Jesus, bring me a jet. I said my husband was driving it because he wants to be a pilot, and he was doing loop-de-doos above me because he knew I was working from home right now. That could happen if I stay in a space of surrender. That could happen for you if you stopped long enough to let him in. My stop was a crash and burn. My stop was a, you got no choice, sister. And I really pray that that's not your story. I pray that you're just sitting with drunk goggles, looking at the rearview mirror, and you have no idea where to go. And yet you still have a home. You still have food on your table. You still have enough to get by. You still have people that love you. We live in a privileged time. We live in a privileged, I won't say location because I know that there's people from all over the world that tune in. But I am so adamant about this understanding of surrender, that our privilege is the fact that he exists, that our privilege is that he sent his one and only son to die for us so we don't have to drive the car, that we get to rest in the back seat. Now, does that mean you don't activate? Come on, y'all know I'm an activator all day, every day. Absolutely, you activate. Absolutely, you're moving. Absolutely, you're like, hey, Jesus, I wanted to see if we could go to that one thing, that one time, that one day. And he laughs and he lets you try. He lets you roll down the window and wave at that dream. But he's like, guess what? I've got something better for you. We're not going to that park. We're going to this park, Central Park, wherever other park in the world. I know that there's one in Paris I want to go to. Right? That's how good our God is. And I don't mean this for just the privileged. I mean this for everyone. Every single person. Every single human. Every single living thing with a soul that is called a human. I don't care what color you are, how old you are. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your bank account says. I don't care what your car looks like. I don't care if you don't even have a car. This is figurative. But I pray that he blesses you with one, and I know that he will. I'm that confident because he's done it for me. And he's done it for so many people that I love. And so he doesn't have drunk goggles. He's never been drunk. He never will be drunk. He's never going to pick up the bad habit. He's never going to look through the rearview mirror with those drunk goggles. He's never going to look through the rearview mirror and say, I remember when, because that's not what he does. He sees your future because all he sees is his purpose. And all he sees for you is your purpose. Give him the keys. Pass over the control. Surrender. Start the process of mirroring over again. Uproot, give back the old keys to the people who can drive that away. Take it to the junkyard, in fact, because I don't want anybody else having it, right? It's old, it's rusted, it's broken down. I don't care what it looks like. It could be brand new. But if you think you own that vehicle, you're wrong. Because by the world's standards, it's not good enough. It's not shiny enough. It's not new enough. It doesn't cost enough. It's not fast enough. It's not electric enough. The roads aren't made for it yet. So why not upgrade? And guess what? It's free. That's the best news. I'm not asking anything of you here. My intent isn't to make you feel guilty about the car that you're driving. I told you what mine is like. My intent is to help you release control. My hope is that you take off the beer goggles, you get in the back seat, friend, and you let him do what he's made to do. But repentance, a sincere apology, as you let him back into the car, maybe from previous times that you've kicked him out, or maybe for the first time. And you say, God, I love you. God, I don't know what this looks like. God, I don't know where you're going. I have no clarity. I have no vision. I am drunk. And yet I want to be well. I want my soul to be well. I want my vehicle, my vessel, my body, my mind, my heart, my spirit. I want it to be well and whole in you. Will you give me a new vehicle? Will you be the driver of that vehicle? Can I let all the baggage outside? Can I get everything out of the trunk? Can we start over? Can we have a fresh ride? Can you blare the sound of angels? Can we take it to the car wash and know that we are washed white of our shame and our guilt, that you see us and you love us like my sweet daughter who I get to look at in the rearview mirror. And so often I have to stop and I got to turn around. I got to see her with my own eyes because she's too beautiful. I want to take her all in. I want to see her from head to toe. I want to be present with her. Guess what? He wants to be that present with you too, right now. Right now in this very moment. If you need to exchange keys with him, let's do it. If you need to stop your car, let's do it. If he's in the car and you need to change positions, let's do it. God, I just pray that you are overtaking their rooms where they're at right now. That they are just flooded by your very presence. That you take their chin like you took mine and you give them the same look that you gave me. That I am worthy. That I am beautiful. That I am yet a child. Designed and created to emulate you. To live out a great purpose. The purpose that is a part of your beautiful plan. And that the journey, the road by which we uniquely walk on together, you and me, God, it looks different than every other person's road. My rearview mirror is different, in fact. And yet the windshield is the same size no matter the vehicle. Because your lens is greater. It's the greatest. And we are all blessed with that same provision, that same abundance, that same destination. I can't believe that he showed up like that in this hour, in this day. Praise you. I got to turn on some worship music. I got to pack those bags. I don't even know if I can drive to Florida. I don't even think I can do it. I got to get in the back seat. He is so good, y'all. I want this for you so much. I love you. I pray that this blesses you. And above all things, I hope that this moves you into activation to release control, to say yes to him as your driver. And stop looking through the rearview mirror. Look up there. It's so good. It's so good, friends. All the love. Reach out to me if you need prayer, if you need help in that process of bringing him in the car and letting him take ownership. I'm still becoming, but I've got a couple toolboxes in the back seat. Love you.